Practicing OMAD, eating one meal a day, helped me to lose over 50 pounds. And it's been key in helping me to keep the weight off in maintenance. So in today's video, I'm going to give you 5 tips for losing weight with OMAD. On my 80-pound weight loss journey, I lost about 30 pounds with just regular old intermittent fasting, but the rest of the weight I lost eating one meal a day. Now, if you want to know, my daily routine with OMAD, how I practice it, I'll link to a video in the description that tells you how I do that. But in today's video, I'm going to give you some specific tips on how to actually lose weight with OMAD. Tip number 1 is to get to OMAD gradually. Now, I know that it's tempting when you hear of a technique, like, oh, eat one meal a day, then it's like you just want to snap your fingers and implement it. Now, this can work for a very few people, and some people do this and they say that, they jumped right to OMAD and they never looked back and it went great for them. And I have heard of those cases, but what I have heard much more frequently is, I tried to do OMAD and it's just too hard. And the problem always is that these people have tried to just jump to it. They haven't taken it very gradually. But very gradually is how I got myself to OMAD. I, practiced intermittent fasting very inconsistently for about a year. And then when I finally got consistent, it was another, 3 or 4 months going from about a 16-8 until I got myself down to OMAD, one meal a day. It was just really important that I did it this way because what was happening was I was just pushing my window out really gradually. And so I always felt like, intermittent fasting was easy. It was like, I'm just doing it a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And so I built my confidence gradually. I think this is why people who try to jump to it have such a hard time, because what usually happens is they try to jump to OMAD and they just can't quite make it. And so then what happens? They don't do the plan. They end up breaking the fast early and then they eat multiple times. And then what happens is they feel guilty because they didn't stick to the plan. And then, because they feel guilty, then the next day it's really hard to get the motivation to try again. And so it just sets up this vicious cycle of quitting and discouragement and frustration. But instead, you can try the success cycle, which is, set up a very small hurdle to jump over, one that you know for sure you can do. Something like an 8-hour fasting window is plenty. If you've never done fasting before, set up an 8-hour fasting window. Yes, you can even sleep through it. And then, say, okay, I'm going to push breakfast out by 30 minutes. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to wait 30 minutes before I eat. And then once you can do that consistently, then push it out another 30 minutes. And then once you can do that, push it out another 30 minutes, or go even slower than that if you need to. The point is working your way gradually there will set you up for success because it's always going to feel easy. It's always going to feel doable. Tip number 2 is to eat enough, but not too much. So the thing about OMAD is because you're only eating one meal a day, there is a bit of a learning curve. Even if you come to it very gradually, there does come a point when you're eating multiple meals and then you're down to one meal. And so it takes some, trial and error to figure out how much is the right amount to eat. And unfortunately, the thing that is too often tempting to do is to eat too little food. And this is usually done in order to try to hasten results. It's like, I really want to lose weight fast, so I'm going to eat just once a day and then I'm going to have this tiny little meal. If you do that, you're going to make yourself miserable and you're going to quit. You have to make yourself eat enough food at the meal. And the thing is, OMAD means, since you're just eating that one meal, that you get to have a nice, big, substantial meal that will fill you up. That being said, just because you can have a nice, big, substantial meal, it doesn't mean that you can't gain weight while practicing OMAD. It is definitely possible. You can do it. And so if you get to that point where you're just eating one meal a day, but the scale is still going up, it means that you're eating too much at that one meal and you're going to have to figure out how to eat a little bit less. And to help you with that, I do have a video on how to stop overeating, and I'll link to that below. Ultimately, there's 2 important things you should be paying attention to when you're trying to figure out, are you eating the right amount of food on OMAD? You want to look at how you're feeling and what the scale is doing. And so you want the scale to be moving down, but you also want to be feeling good. And yes, you definitely can find that Goldilocks zone where you're eating the appropriate amount of food, but the scale is still moving down and you're feeling good. It just takes trial and error. Tip number 3 is to fill up your day. So when you go to practicing OMAD, you're gonna realize how much free time you have, and there's a lot of it, let me tell you. You know, before I started practicing OMAD, I thought, man, I just don't have any time. But when I started practicing OMAD, I realized, wow, a lot of my time was spent, you know, thinking about food or preparing food or cleaning up the food mess. And so this is actually a big challenge with OMAD. All that free time can actually feel intimidating, and it can be really easy to want to go to the kitchen instead and just have a snack. What I found works best is just to keep busy. If your house is anything like mine, there's plenty of cleaning to be done, and there's lots of decluttering to be done, and there's plenty of projects that you could take on. You can also use your time on more fun things like hobbies, or, you know, exercise also is a great option. Or you could even use the time to work. And all those things can help you fill up your day so that it doesn't just feel like you're waiting on your meal. I found it really helpful to just have a list going of things that I could do instead of eat. So if I wanted to, you know, eat, I would just look at that list instead and do one of those things. Something like read a book, or, you know, clean the shower, or, you know, whatever was bugging me around the house. Doing those things really helped. Tip number 4 is to have reasonable expectations about how quickly the weight will come off. Now, the thing is, when you hear, you know, the idea of 1 meal a day, you'll probably be like I was and think, man, the weight will just fall off so fast if you do that. But what I found was after I had this kind of initial drop, I had like about a 5-pound drop one week when I went from practicing like a 24 to OMAD. Then though, for the next several weeks, I plateaued. And what I found was that on average, even with OMAD, even being very consistent with OMAD, I was losing about 1 pound per week. And that was when I had the most weight to lose. Once I got down near a normal BMI and I lost some more weight, it was only 1/3 of a pound a week. So it was very, very slow. Tip number 5 is to give yourself a break. Now, I have found it very helpful on the weight loss journey to take a cheat day every week. The fact is, OMAD is different. It's weird. You know, your family's likely not going to be practicing this with you. So to just have one day to eat like your family eats can be really helpful. All that being said, it's very important as you're getting yourself to OMAD and while you're practicing OMAD to monitor yourself for resentment. If at any point you start to hate OMAD or you wish you didn't have to do OMAD, then listen to yourself. Never let resentment grow. It's very important because if you don't listen to that, you will end up falling off the wagon completely and likely having no plan and gaining weight. So instead, tweak your plan. You know, maybe something like 2 meals a day might fit better in your life, or maybe just practicing OMAD several days out of the week instead of every day. There are lots of different ways that you can customize this to your life so that you can practice it consistently and lose the weight that you want to lose. So I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Chances are, since you just watched that video, you're on the weight loss journey yourself. And I just wanted to let you know that I do have some more resources available to you. First of all, I have lots of freebies on my website, 6milestosupper.com/freebies. On that page, you can find lots of downloads and printables that will help you on the weight loss journey. And I've written 3 different books to help you through the process. Also, I have a course on Teachable, Intermittent Fasting for Weight Loss 101. And this takes you through the entire process of weight loss with intermittent fasting, from how to get started, and then how to build your plan and customize it to your own life, and finally, how to keep it off for the rest of your life. And I also offer weekly office hours so that you can get your questions answered directly by me. Also, there's the option to join this channel. When you become an insider, you get access to the vlog I do. I also hold an additional live Q&A just for members. The links to all these things are in the description.